Thanks, buddy. Good job, buddy. Okay. Yeah, Alex, you're pretty, how long you been at SaaS Alerts? Yeah, pretty new. So she's been a really great addition. Met her on a webinar. Actually met her on one of our elite calls probably a month ago, right around Christmas, I think that was. So it's exciting to have a rep. She's like dedicated to our 7-figure partners, so that's pretty cool. Our next speaker kind of almost needs no introduction on our stage because you've been up here like, what, 8 times? But Matt took some fun facts about David, but Matt's not here, so I'm going to make some shit up.
Wouldn't be the first time.
David wears a thong on Thursdays. So that's thing 1.
Yeah.
That's about all I got.
I got nothing to say to that.
Actually, and who's a good, you have a really good connection that you keep trying to get me to bring on this stage. Can I say who it is?
No, because you mentioned my thong.
No, he said his thong. That means it's real.
I'm not telling anybody about that now.
All right, here you go. I'll give you guys one really quick thing that I'm going to say. We talk about co-managed. We talk about all this stuff. One of the really key things is to have a partner that you can absolutely rely on to dump it all on. That's one of the things that these guys do. That's not in a negative way. It's not in a negative way. It's we want them to fully manage everything we're dealing. So I'll let you take it away.
Well, thanks, Chris.
Thanks, brother.
I don't know about the dump it all on part, but I'm Dave Barton. I'm CTO of Highwire Networks. I know we've got a bunch of new partners here this week, so haven't got to meet all of you yet. I'm a lifetime cybersecurity guy. I've been doing this from back in the Air Force days, and I have the privilege of being the Chief Technology Officer at Highwire Networks. We are a managed MSSP. We've got a booth out there. What I'm not going to do is I'm not going to sell you anything right now. I really just want to talk about the state of cyber because it's changing every day. I'm going to lead with a question, though. How many of you hear about the shortage of cybersecurity talent, right? Everybody hearing about this. How many of you are mentoring young people to push them that direction? I love it. Everybody who doesn't have a hand up, you should. That's my PSA for today. We have got to get those kids interested in this stuff. And all of you know somebody who you could help. So what I like to do in this session, instead of tell you about all the cool stuff we do and all this stuff you can dump on us per Chris, I want to talk about what's going on in the world, because some of this stuff you may not have seen. So I'm just going to talk about these things at a high level, and at the end, if they let me keep talking, which they very seldom do, I'll answer questions. So what's happening recently in the Android space, if you happen to have an Android device, is black market drugs are being sold and distributed, and they're using Android phones to hide their behaviors. And you may say, why does that matter? Just think about the connection between illicit activities, illicit hacking activities. They're all tied together. So this one I thought was interesting. Android is playing whack-a-mole effectively, the Android app space, to try to stop these things from happening. There's a reason why you don't see them on Apple. And I'm not advocating for either. I'm just telling you, Android is a little more risky. Internet of Things. I thought this one was interesting, and I'll talk about the next one as well. How many of you have customers that have devices they can't patch? Right? Quite a few. Can't patch them, can't put agents on them. I like the analogy of putting an agent on a person. I'd love that. My kids they'd be locked down all day. But we can't, and we can't patch, and we can't put tools on medical devices. I have one of our customers has 7,000 biomedical devices in their environment. And every day they struggle with, how do I protect them? The bad guys know this. So instead of trying to go in the front door and attack devices that we have tools on, that we have agents on, they're going after that low-hanging fruit, which is biomedical devices that you can't patch. So there's a couple of actors out there, threat actors, who are focused on this. So if you're not watching those IoT, OT devices close enough, you should be, because they're focused on it. This is really the same problem, but if your car is on this list, there's a pretty good chance we can hack it. They published this last week. Car manufacturers are doing a great job of innovating, but what they're not doing a great job of is protecting the network of that device, of that car. About 3 or 4 years ago at Black Hat, there was a live demonstration of hacking a Jeep. Anybody see that? So bad guys on stage connect to a Jeep Grand Cherokee and they drive it from the keyboard. That should scare you to death. It scares me to death. Is my car on that list? No. The point is, OT, IoT, innovation, right? The refrigerator who tells you the door's open but won't shut itself. All of that is risky. And if you're not paying attention to it, understand the bad guys are. This one was interesting to me. This is more political, by the way. If you haven't seen this article, there's a movement happening in the United Nations, and you may go, "Ah, it doesn't matter to me, it's somewhere else." But hacking is now being considered a war crime, which I love, by the way. I think it's great. What's more interesting is hacking of national infrastructure by the opposing government is being considered a war crime. Who are they going to prosecute here? Right? Are they going to get Putin? And no. But what's interesting, guys, is the fundamental shift of now calling this warfare, this electronic warfare, war crimes, because they're impacting citizens. And going through the winter in the Ukraine right now is probably not much fun, because they're losing power, they're losing services, they're losing lots of things. And so this one's interesting. This one's going to evolve. It'll be worth watching. When I saw this one, I thought it would be interesting as well, because we have younger people out there. Bad guys are targeting your kids and your grandkids with Pokemon, right? Who'd have thought that we had to pay attention to smart connected Pokemon devices? Not me, but the bad guys do. Rewind to that slide I had up there about OT. Effectively, this is what they're doing. They're going after devices that are connected, but you can't protect. And this impacts your kids or your grandkids. Fascinating where this is going. How many of you saw Chris's post on LinkedIn, is he here? A while back around Chat GPT. Anybody see that? Right? Phenomenal tool. It lets you talk and it'll create code. But what's happening is the bad guys are talking, and what's happening is unsophisticated, pardon my French, dumbass kids are creating malware. They don't know how to do it without this tool. The tool's phenomenal. Like, I can go write a SQL query and pull some data out of places I don't know how to do it, but the tool does. And the kids are taking that same tool. You know, we call them script kiddies back in the day, guys who just ran scripts somebody else wrote. And they're running this tool to generate malware and ransomware and attacks. So it was designed to do cool stuff, and it does. but it also does some scary stuff. I don't have a slide for this, but I'll just segue for a second. How many of you have seen that tool that you can type in 4 or 5 words and it'll paint a picture of a dolphin on the moon with a yellow tiara, right? And it's gorgeous. The artwork is ridiculous. But what's happening in this really cool tool is the bad guys are using that and creating the deep fakes. What used to take days, weeks to create a decent deep fake is now taking minutes. And they're getting to the point where they can do deep fakes of video. So it's going to look like Dave Barton's on stage in his thong on Thursday when he's not. I can promise you that's never going to happen. You guys are all my alibi, by the way. But the point is, these tools, ChatGPT, these art tools are being used to do bad things. Something to pay attention to. This one's interesting. Biden is starting to impose or propose legislation. By the way, I'm not political here either. What I really want you to focus on is the outcome. And the outcome of this one is the software vendor, Microsoft, is responsible, not the person who buys it. They're shifting the liability. That's going to impact every one of your customers if this goes through. Now, I'm not sure that he's going to have the votes nor whatever he needs to get this through, because corporate world's going to go, yeah, if I give you a lock on your door and you leave it unlocked, it's not the lock's fault. It's your fault. You left it unlocked. But this legislation is going to be interesting. I don't know if anybody saw this. There's a hospital in Canada that got ransomwared. And the ransomware guys have a heart. Who knew, right? All they want's money. But in this case, they said, oh, wait, we really didn't mean to ransomware a children's hospital. Here's a free key, unlock it all. And then they went a step further and said, well, it really wasn't us. It was this group that borrowed it from us. This is interesting to me. I don't know, maybe it's just me, maybe it's not. But when you have a hacking group like this, Lockbit, these guys, they're bad. And they gave away a free key because they inadvertently ransomwared a hospital of kids. I just thought that was interesting. Microsoft Exchange. Anybody still supporting on-prem Microsoft Exchange? Anybody not see this one? If you don't, you might want to get up and go patch it. 60,000 Microsoft Exchange servers are online and exposed to this one. And this one will give you root admin level access from remote. So if you haven't seen this one, you probably should. And I'm running out of time, so I'm going to try to get this quick. If you haven't seen this, Microsoft said, 3 weeks ago, 7 and 8, no more updates. Anybody got 7 and 8 in your environments? I know there's at least one. Thank you for being honest. All the rest of you, I know you got it too. They're not going to have patches. So if you can't upgrade it because you got an OT device, you got an ATM machine running Windows 98, and yes, they still exist. I've seen them. You have to do something about it. You're going to have to put something in front of it and treat that device like a pure IoT device. And if you want to have some conversation around that, it's one of my passions lately. I'm happy to talk about it. So last time I was up here on a panel, I made a prediction, and I just thought I'd throw this out here because it tends to support my prediction from last time. This is Zurich. Zurich, one of the largest insurance companies in the world. Their CEO says cyber is becoming uninsurable. I can give you the slides later if anybody wants them. I'll reiterate, for those of you who missed it, my prediction was, unless the financial incentive goes away, cyber insurance will cease to exist between 5 and 7 years from now. And a couple of you were nervous about that, and I understand that. But understand this is just one. I've got another one right behind it where the government is saying, you know, cyber insurance isn't working. Maybe we should just tax everybody and have a way for the government to bail them out. Makes sense to me. Just take more of my money. The premise is still valid, guys. I am seeing over and over claims being denied for nation state, ransomware, acts of war. There's not much left. Script kiddies running ChatGPT. That'll be next. Right now we're losing, and I don't know how we'll get past this. And so this is my last slide, and I won't read through this, but I just want every quarter I update this. Be thinking about your stack. You know, the prediction for 2023 was, don't be married to what you have. Evaluate, look for what's best in breed, and go from there. With that, I know I'm out of time, but I haven't got the hook yet. So, anybody have questions? Any topic cyber related, I do this all day, every day, so I'm happy to talk about it.
Who cuts your hair?
What? Who cuts my hair? I cut my own. Thank you, Chris. Yeah, Chris works for me. He'll get paid later. We can get it from the seven-figure guys. Sir.
Talk about passwordless. I'm kind of unfamiliar with that subject. Are we just talking like MFA solution without having a password?
Effectively, so there's a couple of tools coming, and he asked specifically about passwordless authentication. Here comes the hook, by the way. Passwordless authentication is where a lot of companies are going to, and it is more a function of what you have, what you know, instead of a password you got to memorize. But we're going to start to see more and more applications on the internet pushing you away from what's your password to what do you know, what do you have, and give me a challenge response mechanism. In the back, yes, sir.
Yeah, so a lot of the premise we're hearing from security professionals is we need to automate wherever possible. Automation for security. What's your general thoughts about where we should see more automation in this stack process, and how does that look like?
I'm going to pay you later, too.
Woo! No.
Automation is one of my topics I like to talk about. And I'll rewind to one of the first questions I asked you is, there's this labor shortage. How do I get past the fact that all the smart people in the world are going to be retiring in the next 10 years in the cyberspace? Not all the smart, all you younger people will still be here. But there's going to be a gap, right? How do we get past that gap? Part of that's going to have to be mentoring, which I led with, but the other part is going to be automating everything I can. So what would I automate? SaaS Alerts talked about it. I love what he had to say. If I can automate and stop something before you see it, I win, right? If I can prevent something because I automated a data movement that gave me better telemetry about a bad guy doing ChatGPT, I win. So automation has to be part of that strategy. And I get it, automation's tough because you're talking to tons of vendors who have different products that don't integrate and have APIs that aren't consistent with ones I'm using. And I don't know how to pull APIs because I've never done programming. And how do I get to that point? So automation will make you more efficient, more effective, able to earn more money. Wait, that's the guy who was talking about making money on efficiency. It will make you better at catching it quicker, responding to it quicker. Automation has to be a foundation of the future of cybersecurity. And there's a lot of use cases we can talk about, but I'm pretty sure they'll give me the hook before I go into too many of them. And I also realize I'm standing between you and beer, so other questions? All right, I'm here all week. I just got the hook. Wait, it says I got, oh, you want me to tell them we're going over to get beer?
No, that was already.
You got that.
We restarted that.
All right, I'm out. Thanks, guys.